Okay, I sort of did that to myself. There we go. Alright, so today I'm going to be looking at some consoles I assembled a little while ago. I haven't done testing on consoles for a few months, so I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things before I start actually putting consoles for sale, just so I can get my testing protocol prepared and I kind of know what I'm doing there. Well, I have a pile of rather diverse color schemes here. And I think some of them are in their second phase of testing. I actually don't remember, but we'll just have to see. So I guess I'll start with this Burgundy one because it looks like it may have been a reject, maybe even a return. So let me kind of see what I have on this thing right here. Oh, yeah, this is the one that had image retention on the top screen. I remember this. Okay, so this is the old documentation. I might not keep it with it anymore. I should have probably noted which one was old and which one was new. I think probably pitched it right here is when I said, like, yeah, this is probably the old one, because that's when I noted image retention. Let me just clarify this so I don't get confused. Old. So it looks like I technically did go through the full testing suite since I do have documentation with it, and I believe I did sell this one. This one probably came back as a return. I did put a screen protector back on it, so I think what I need to do is just treat it as a test one. So I'll go through a round of testing as though it were just a normally assembled console. So yeah, new screens and digi. Screen is as close as I can get, which usually means that, just to my eye, they're off very slightly. Let me just reread these. Verify game slot, new digitizer. Okay. Did I do anything to this? No, D-pad is clicky. That's interesting. Let me turn off my light so I can look at these screens. The top screen is a little bluer, but that's sort of like the immediate reaction I get. You almost kind of see it in the screen, in the camera, but me saying that's as close as I can get, I think that's pretty good. It is not perfect. I do have, and I've come across enough DSi XLs to know that it can get, like, pretty darn indistinguishable between the two screens. This one is slightly off, but kind of like what I always say, I'll keep parroting it. If you're just going to be staring at this screen forever, sure, maybe there might be a problem, but chances are you're not going to be staring at a white screen. So once you start adding color to this, you won't notice that the top screen is, like, slightly bluer. Alright, so let me grab my protocol, which I guess I can just use the completed sheet. So I kind of go through various steps. Let me just make sure it's not an old one. No, it looks about the same. Okay. So my first assessment here, which I technically kind of have them all right here. So this motherboard did pass. The only thing that was an issue with this is that it needed a new top screen, which shouldn't impact any of the results. It did affect the battery life test, but I only run the battery life test once. It is entirely possible that if I tried to take an average over like 5 tests, it might range between different times. Like, if this is to be believed, like, it's off by about, what is that, 15 minutes? I don't think that's too significant, all things considered, but 15 minutes is quite a variant. Anyway, so what I have is my protocol back here. I've added 2 more tests just to kind of catch weird things, like image retention, which was what this screen was replaced for. So my first assessment is motherboard, power board, which the power board is the small daughter board inside the console. An assessment of the unit's motherboard and power board, make sure the unit powers up, opens application, and charges without error. I'll check specifically the charge port later, and that all kind of wraps up more in the charge port, the charging section. But really what I need to assess here is, does the thing turn on, both screens display the right images, and does it open an application? It does. Make sure I do have the right motherboard version firmware. So that is all good. Next I have tactile buttons. Now that is an assessment of all of the actual face buttons and shoulder buttons, which I write an assessment of the unit's buttons. This includes tactile buttons, A, B, Y, X, D-pad, start, select, power, volume up, down, left, right, node actuation, sound, springiness. I usually don't really... It's all by feel. This is all very subjective. Like I did note on this that the D-pad is clicky. It is. It is pretty clicky. Like, it's usually not supposed to be that loud. It doesn't feel bad. It's just a little louder. Could be because maybe it's not worn out as much. Maybe just the way it's worn out. I can't really say. All the buttons feel right. I'm not too worried about that, but how I specifically test the buttons is through a homebrew application. So I'll be grabbing one of my R4 cards. Well, in that case, it's a clone. Oh, I tried soft resetting it while opening an application, and I guess it decided to freeze. Pop in my R4. Not my camera. Let me find where I put my stylus. There. So I use application diagnose or diagnode SE. I am kind of noticing at a bit of a sharper angle. The top screen is a little more blue, but again, that's entirely subjective. So what I'm going to do is just kind of press the buttons 10 or so times, paying special attention to the shoulder buttons, as those tend to have the most problems. Mostly just seeing, do these, respond. The face buttons I'm not too worried about, they're usually always fine. Sometimes the D-pads have issues, but very rarely. Now the shoulder buttons. I'm just sort of pressing all over the button to make sure it registers, even on like the very edge of the button. Blasting me with those laser eyes. A lot more translucent than I expected. Or, oh, not translucent, but... No, you don't want to do that. I remember there being a thingamabob. No, it wouldn't be properties. Whatever, I don't remember. Anyway, R button tested fine. Both shoulder buttons feel about the same. They sound about the same as well. That is kind of important because I noticed that aftermarket buttons tend to be a lot louder. So I'm pretty satisfied with all those buttons. So let's look next is touchscreen, an assessment of the digitizer touch functionality. Ooh, aren't I fancy. The digitizer was either tested using Flipnote Studio or in an application DS Krytor using an R4 card. And I usually can't mention that in eBay listings because eBay doesn't like the word homebrew, despite me using it purely for testing. Where is it? Ah, this guy. This is just basically a drawing pad application. So what I will do I have a screen protector on this bottom screen? No, I don't. Why did I not put a screen protector on this bottom screen? Huh, okay. I don't want to do a touchscreen test. Scratch up a brand new digitizer. So I may have to postpone that. This is a brand new digitizer. I do expect it to work, but I really don't want to do a test on it until I actually get it protected. So I think for now I'll just skip that and assume it works. Speakers, microphone, and headphone jack. So that I will use. Hopefully my SD card is still loaded up with a song. I also need to grab a set of earbuds. So this will also kind of test the SD card slot as well. I'll just be a little more careful with my bottom screen so I'm not scratching it. Both speakers work. Both earbuds work. There's no sound coming out of the speakers when the earbuds are plugged in, which it's supposed to do that. Now the only thing I need to check is the microphone. Take out that SD card so I don't forget it. I did not record that one, so that must have been from the previous owner. I didn't technically wipe this thing. But as you kind of see as I'm talking, there's a waveform on the top screen, so that's a fairly good indicator that the microphone works just fine. But as you kind of see, there's a buzzing in the background, but I don't necessarily put too much emphasis on the microphone. It either works or it doesn't work. Yeah, indeed it does. So all the sound components work. This is the same motherboard, so I would be very surprised if any of these failed. So I'll check the cameras next. This is a pretty easy one. Basically, does it work? It's not going to look pretty because it's a DSi camera. Yep. No, I don't really know if there's any games that utilize the microphone as like an actual microphone. It's usually just like an input for like blowing. There's I think one of the Legend of Zelda games on the DS, you use the microphone to blow a pan flute. I think that was Spirit Tracks. Good game. Next is the charge port. Now this is where I'll test the ability for the thing to charge. I'm going to do this while the thing's closed. So I have a voltmeter right off screen. A little USB tester. And really all I need to do is plug in the charger. Sits in all the way. And it has an amp draw. So it is charging. Solid orange light. What I like to do next is sort of jiggle the charger around in the slot to see if it ever loses connection. More to check the solder joints on the charge port. And it's all good. Yeah, I suppose that's true. It definitely was a novelty when you first got or when I first got one of these consoles. It was definitely interesting to see, because you could record your voice and kind of play around with it. So I'm checking the software-based indicator for the charger, and when I plug in the charger, it switches into charging mode or whatever. I don't think I've ever had a console that charges perfectly, but the software indicator doesn't work. I've had it where the console won't charge, but the software indicator is going off. And that's for... I don't remember why exactly that was a motherboard problem, I believe. I don't think it was one of the corroded vias, I don't remember, but... that works. That's really all that matters. Next is the game card slot. Now this is a big one. This is one I test extremely thoroughly. Mary, how do you think I got onto this journey of collecting and repairing DSi's? It started as me missing it, and then, well, me buying several $1,000s worth of broken consoles, and now me slowly putting them together to sell. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. So I have a giant stack of shovelware games that I'll just be testing one at a time in sort of various different states. Power on the console. So what I'll do is take a game. This one is... I am noticing the top screen was flickering. That's not good. The bottom screen doing it too? No, it's just the top. Flickering is a phenomenon I haven't quite nailed down, but I think I might have to put this one aside for now. After, well, I'll finish the series of tests, but I need to kind of nail down what's going on, why it's doing that. I have maybe a couple ideas I can try. Hopefully it's not the display, because that would be unfortunate. Because I already replaced it. Anyway, so I'll take my game, I'll insert it normally. Locks in, shows up immediately. Then what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of pressure on it and sort of shift it side to side and slowly increase the pressure until I hit the actual ejection mechanism. And if it reads all the way through that, then I'm fairly confident that this game card slot's in good shape. Just hit the eject mechanism. I'm still pressing down all the way until it bottoms out. So right there, it goes away when I have the card pressed all the way in. That's kind of an unrealistic... It's unrealistic to expect the DS to read it like that, because I'm... What is that? A few millimeters past the actual... where it would sit normally. So I don't put too much emphasis on that read. It read it all the way down past the ejection, which is good enough for me, really. Reads just fine. Blips out again as I bottom it out. I'm kind of putting those in a pile. Good luck at work. Ah yes, the classic Nintendogs. It's been relegated to my shovelware tester pile. Okay, that one blips out when it bottoms out again. This one blips out a little before the ejection mechanism. Was it a little bit after? I'm just going to keep trying it. Now it's not blipping out. Huh, okay. I'll put that one right there. Even bottomed out, this one isn't blipping out. So that one's good. Crafting Mama is a tried and true. You're back in Star Citizen. Keep giving them money, eventually they'll release the game. Is that how it works? Oh, I am omitting a test I usually do. I can do that in a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's true. If you're enjoying it and you think you're getting your money's worth, I think that's really all that matters. It's just funny, the meme on that game. Ooh, okay. Where'd that one blip out? I know this game was one of the more difficult games. Blips out right before the ejection. About right at the injection point is where it cuts out. Okay. So that's 2 games that technically fail. And those could just be unique to those game cartridges. Maybe the pins are a little dirty or whatever quirk specific to those game carts. That one's blipping out when it bottoms. That's good. Oh yeah? All of these games that I've gotten, like pretty much this pile of shovelware games, have just come in on junk consoles. Just people just throw them in. I guess I can't really blame them. I think the only like random game card that I got that I actually wanted was Mario Kart DS. I think that came in on my capture system, which was a very great surprise because I spent a lot of money on that capture system. So to get a free Mario Kart game, which I don't think is probably worth that much, but yeah, I won't complain. I was plenty happy to have the capture system. I don't think I've ever properly played a Sims game. Which is a bit ironic because it's not like I don't have a bunch on PC that I've just been squatting on saying, oh yeah, I'll play that. I haven't thrown them in my computer once. They were cheap at a thrift store, so what could I say? I like spending money. And they're all sort of failing at the same point, which I'm going to take to mean that's more of a console problem, but again, I'm sort of really... I'm having to really try hard to make the game card disappear. Some game cards work fine. So, okay. So I have this stack that will disappear when it bottoms out. These game cards read just fine. And then I have two that read right at the ejection point. Ish. They're definitely time killer games I've wanted to try. So this is my good pile. So the test I omitted was just smacking the back of the console to see if the game card vanishes. This is a far more practical test. So if you place your console on a table while you're playing it, your console doesn't freeze or shut off because the game card disconnects. But I know if the sim games are anything like the Roller Coaster Tycoon games, I know I could easily spend many hours on it. I don't know if I have it in my heart to play more time waster games. At least not yet. These are the ones that... Oh, so Bejeweled 3 cut out right there. There, did it again, okay? I feel like that's sort of a thing that happened with Bejeweled 3, so that might just be that card problem. But I would say if a majority is reading just fine, what I might do is just another cleaning pass on the pins. That should be enough to solve, hopefully, all of those problems with the exception of the ones not reading when they're bottoming out. I'm going to say that is within normal, or that's outside of a normal use case. Because if you accidentally pressed that down to it past an ejection point, the card's going to fly out anyway. So I had one Bejeweled 3. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to run it through another round of testing. So what I'm going to do is just give it a cleaning. I'll clean with Bejeweled 3. So nothing too fancy. I'll just dribble some rubbing alcohol on the pins. And then just sort of take it in and out of the console a few times. Alright, that should be good. Let it dry for a second as I reposition here. Ugh. So now I think the only thing I really have left to test is the Wi-Fi, but I can't really do that since I can't connect to my Wi-Fi hotspot. The only way I can reasonably connect to that is through my phone, which I'm using as my camera. I don't think I've ever had a console fail connect to a Wi-Fi access point, so I usually don't put too much weight on that. I think what I should at least try is getting even just sort of a somewhat of a test on the touchscreen. I'll use sort of using microfiber cloth as sort of a buffer. I don't know if I have it in me to put in screen protectors right now. I'll do the perimeter. This might not be the most scientific, but it should catch any oddities if anything looks weird. So I did the perimeter and now I'm just doing circles. It looks like I probably need to calibrate it if it's not going all the way to the edge. Which it isn't. It could also just be the microfiber cloth. But there's no, like, dead zones in the touchscreen where it would just make, like, these jagged, like, exclusion zones. So I'll make the very strong assumption that the touchscreen's fine. Why I saw the top screen flickering, I do not know. But for now, I think I can pass it. At least as far as this first test is concerned. I will just sort of advise game card slot. Game card slot, check. What I do want to do is actually open it up. I want to see if there's any credit in a theory for screen flickering. Yeah, I usually tape down the... Okay. I'll usually tape connectors down. The little latches for the screens, but I won't do that until the final test. Do I not have a guitar pick kicking around in here? Oh, well, probably remove the battery first. I'm actually going to grab my microscope. So the prevailing theory I have is flickering is possibly caused by damage on the potentiometer. I really don't have any reasonable evidence to support that, but it makes sense. Here's the screen potentiometer for the bottom screen. Top screen, they look good as far as I can tell. Like, I don't expect them to be damaged, but... or even moved that much, if at all. Because I could see that if somebody was fiddling with these things, it would wear them down a little. Possibly meaning the resistance that they offer for the screen voltage would be inconsistent, or maybe it would damage the tracks inside. But I really don't have any reason to believe these are, at least this one's at fault. Especially if they were just calibrated at the factory and just left as is. Huh, okay, well. I'll just have to be a theory without evidence. It might get to the point to where I just try and outright replace them and just see if that does anything. It's kind of throwing a part at a problem, but... unless I try and track down maybe like a faulty capacitor somewhere. I really have no other reasonable guess other than just display is going bad. Ah, which reminds me, there's 2 more tests I need to do. I'll get this thing back together though. Alright, so 2 more tests. 1, does the console go into sleep? Now, I had one console returned to me that had just a wild problem where it wouldn't go into sleep. It was kind of erratically flicking in and out of sleep, which I didn't even know was a thing. So now I've just been testing it. So what I should do when I place a magnet right there, it's go into sleep. Slow pulsing blue light, nothing on the displays, I don't hear anything. And when I remove the magnet, voila, out of sleep. So that functions just fine. The other test I'm going to do, which tests for image retention, aside from dumping my little trash can all over me, is to hold the display, or hold the console on the DSi Sounds screen for, I don't know, maybe minute and a half. And then I'll swap over to the DSi settings menu. And what I'm looking for is this checkered pattern. If I can see this checkered pattern on the settings menu, then that's a fairly strong indication that the displays are retaining an image. Can't say I entirely know why that phenomena happens, but that seems to be a consistent phenomena around other games. So if you were to play a game, that image retention would also happen. It's not too unlike OLED burn-in, even though these are LCD displays. But it is something I notice, and it would bother me too if it were something that happened. So I can understand why a console like that was returned. I wasn't really tracking time. I think it's been about 30 or so seconds. There's no real science behind this. It's just kind of after about a minute and a half or so is when I kind of notice that's the strongest indicator of a retention. I'll give it 10 more seconds. Okay. So I'm really kind of looking to see if I can make out that checkered pattern. It kind of looks like it on this bottom screen, but I think that actually is normal. Sort of a continuation from these bars. Like, it would be a very obvious checkered pattern of the DSi sounds menu. So I think that's pretty good. And then what I like to do is just do soft resets to see if I can make out the DSi sounds menu, which you kind of can, especially on the bottom screen. You can see the two big buttons for the record and the play. I don't actually know if that means anything. That could be early signs of these displays starting to fail, but I really have no reason to believe that. The top screen looks pretty good. You can kind of make out the checkering as it's starting to, or as it sort of dims out. But I would say that's within the normal parameters that I set up. Just sort of vague and uncertain, sort of subjective testing that I can do to try and rule out as many faults as I can. So other than the screen flickering, which is a phenomena I'm just going to have to sort of squat on until I get more information, I think this console is good. Good with an asterisk, is what I can say. Let me sort of get all the documentation that was with it together, because I just want to keep the history with it. And screen protector, because you know, why not? Should probably put this one in a special spot if it's gonna do this. Kind of crowded in there. You know what? Instead of just further crowding it, I'll just replace it with another one. So here we have one. I don't think has even gone through a round of testing yet. This is a perfect candidate. So this is a DSi. It is an XL. That's good. A little beat up. It's not in the most amazing shape. Got a new digitizer. I don't know if I might put this one aside because I don't want to deal with another brand new digitizer. I don't want to put on touch screens or screen protectors right now. See if I can find one without a brand new digitizer. This one should do. The green DSi XL is a European model. Does not have, or has an OEM digitizer on. Almost looks like I may have replaced it or moved it over to another LCD. I can kind of see like little reflective hairs in there, which I think are like part of the digitizer. I can't really say. Let's see. Observe top screen flicker. Oh, great. Okay. Well, let me check that. I don't see anything, but I'm going to trust my note. So this will just be another one I just need to shelf. Alright, Burgundy DSi is an XL. Alright. Let me check the screens here. Not bad. I would say very faint yellowing on both screens, on the edges. But it is mild enough that I would have no problem playing this console. Okay, I didn't factory reset it, but it's not... There's no photos being played, so I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, let me grab my protocol list here. So this will be the first time I think this thing has gone through a testing round, so I might have some, hopefully not too interesting problems showing up. So, sort of the same guidelines I did for that other console. Let's see. So motherboard, power board, console turns on. Goes into the settings menu just fine. I'll just record the version number since I'm here. This is 1.4.1U. Tactile buttons. I'll go back into my R4 card. This is probably something I'm going to notice. I think I've looked at enough of these screens, but I'll just note mild yellowing. The thing about the mild yellowing is both screens exhibit about the same amount of yellowing. It's not one is more yellow than the other. Alright, all the tactile buttons feel fine. Shoulder buttons are registering. Touchscreen. Now this has an OEM digitizer on it. like a goober right there. See if I can pick it off. May have to get that with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Oh, that's better. Draw, do a perimeter. And then just do some swirls. Good. Next is speakers, sound system. Grab my little SD card. What I didn't check on that last console was the actual system, like the software volume level. I think the only time I hear problems with that is when the speakers are on at like a consistent volume and you can't change them up and down. But the software says you are changing them up and down. I don't remember what I did with my earbuds. Well, I have a... Oh, here they are. Okay. Reads my SD card. I should really put a Baldur's Gate song on this. I've been listening to those things for so much. It would last longer too. Alright, both earbuds work, both speakers work. Speakers turned off when I plugged in my headphones. I'm good there. Cameras. Wow. Incredibly foggy. I usually don't put much, but I don't know if it's just... That's really bad. I can't see anything in it. That might be... I can't really tell. I think that might be the inner side of the lens, like the inner side of the little clear piece of plastic just needs to be cleaned. I think maybe there was just a smudge in there I didn't catch. Thankfully, that is not a hard thing to get to, but definitely not something I like doing. Thankfully, I don't have to take out the top screen. I should just be able to do it from right here. even just be able to leave that tape there that I have. Give that a try. Bit hard to say. I kind of want to just put this back together so I don't have things falling out on me. And it still kind of looks like it's there. I theoretically should just be able to... I can pop out that little piece of plastic and replace it if I need to. I didn't really wet my Q-tip when I went in there the first time. I'll do it this time. Oops. Don't want those screws. I guess it doesn't really matter. These are all the same screws. A bit hard to say. A little better. Don't know what's causing it though. It's like a smudge. It's just causing the cameras to just sort of like lens flare like that. I'm gonna try a little bit of rubbing alcohol on the camera unit. It's unlike the actual camera module thing. Maybe it's just a smudge on that. Usually pretty careful when I handle these, but I guess I wouldn't really be surprised if I accidentally touched it. Grab a new Q-tip. I think the ultimate test would be to have this console on with the camera like this, as that would sort of disprove or prove the camera unit or the little plastic lens. I don't necessarily like holding the console open like this. Especially since I have to do everything upside down. And that looks a lot better. See what happens when I actually slot it into position. Okay. Ooh. I think that may have done it. I'll check it again when I put it back together. But at least the views I was seeing were pretty clear. So it's possible I just maybe touched it at one point. Definitely, it's a lot better, I think. It is, of course, a DSi camera. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, charge port. Same test as last time. Plug it in. It did kind of flicker there a little, but it is charging. Solid orange light. Rotating it around, and it is not turning off. Oh. I'll try and sort of... There's a fairly common fault. I can't seem to trigger it, so that... I'm not going to worry about that little flicker right there. I just need to know if I can replicate it. Kinda... This is again one of those tests that I'm sort of taking sort of rather extreme measures. Like, hopefully the charge cable inside a DSi isn't exactly a prime fiddle or like a fidgeting type toy. I would say that's good. It did cut out there a couple times. I can't really replicate it, and that could just be because this charge port is maybe just OEM, a little old, but it does the job. It charges. So I'm pretty happy with that. Even if it's not perfect, it's within sort of my spec, so to speak. Ah, next is game card slot. Alright, here's always a fun one. So I will grab all my game cards again in a nice big stack. Just do the same thing I did with the last console. I didn't check the software indicator for the charge light. I can just check that right now. And I need to put those screws back. Yeah, there it goes charging. So, I need to get a battery cover for this actually, because if I smack the back of the console without one, it'll eject the battery. I don't want that. So I just have a big bag of battery covers. And I aim for one that's sort of in the same cosmetic condition. I don't think I need to worry about color matching too much with the Burgundy consoles. On the consoles with the black backs, they tend to... There's like 2 or 3 like variants that I noticed of like a different texture and like a different shade. And some are kind of in worse shape than others, or have, like this one's pretty bad. It does the job, and I suppose that's really all I needed to do. This one kind of matches. Sort of has these white marks that are a little worse than the console. And keep sort of looking through them. This one's also pretty good. It's got a couple marks right there. That is kind of congruent with the rest of the console. It almost does kind of look like there is a couple shade or 2 different types of Burgundy console. It's really dependent on light. It's hard to say. It's not as bad as the black consoles, definitely. But I do kind of notice some kind of have almost like a different texture to them. They're still the burgundy color, but it might not even... a little hard to convey. I think that will work. I'll just check it to see if it needs any cleaning. I do usually try to clean these, but... or when I'm cleaning the shells, they usually just kind of go through a very broad scope cleaning. So I usually don't get around the edges like I can with more focused tools. All right. Okay, one game at a time. Sort of shift the game around in the game card slot while I push it towards the injection point. This game reads it all the way through. Smack the back. No problem at all. Reads immediately. Reads all the way down past the ejection point. This one's reading game card slots really well. Oh. So I have this game card in normal. Eject it, put it back in. Okay. Strange. I'll just put that one off to the side. It didn't read it the first time I put it in. It did read it every subsequent time. Might just be one of those flukes that happens every once in a while. It's not a pattern if I can't repeat it. This one's reading game cards very well. Ooh. Ah, okay, this one. Let me see if I can try and repeat it. I am there. Okay, I am able to get this one to cut out. It's not consistent, but I did get it to go a couple times. Okay. Jinxed it by saying it was reading cards very well. Foiled by a hamster game, it would seem. I didn't do the smack test on this. I would say the smack test is far more important than what I sort of do shifting it around in the game card slot. Because that's a far more realistic stressor that the console needs to deal with. Yeah, aside from that one game, this is reading game cards very well. I'll do a cleaning pass on it. There's a very benign thing I can do that might help. But I really have no reason to believe it's the game card pins. Or the slot pins. It could be the game card. Alright. So what, only 2 failures? I'll try the Dog Whisperer one more time. Just see if it reads. Yeah, I think that was just a weird fluke. So... well, maybe one of the reasons why is this game card's not in the best shape. Let me grab my microscope, actually. Which I'm actually okay with having game cards that aren't in good shape. That sort of makes my test a little more robust. Like right there, I noticed one of the pins is kind of starting to get eaten away. A little bit of corrosion on this thing. But again, it does make my test a little more robust to have game cards in various different sort of condition states. Because if they were all perfect, then that's not really a good real world example. Sort of hit the game card pins with a stiff brush. Put that over there. I'll just use Dog Whisperer to clean that game card slot. I think I'll note down that the camera is a little foggy if for whomever is wanting to buy this console when it gets to that point, if that's important to them. Because it's not perfect. It's usable, but I think maybe aside from like the novelty of having a camera in the device, I really don't think I ever used the camera. But we'll see how I feel as I go through these testing rounds on this console. Okay, so now the last tests I want to do is the sleep and the image retention. Again, I'll grab a magnet, plop. Blue light is fading in and out. No screen, I hear nothing. Now, sit on the DSi sounds, I'll put in the top screen screws. I'll sit on this screen for about... Oh, be gone, bot! No, I don't have any fun commands. I could probably set stuff up really easily. I don't know how to pipe commands like that through my setup. I'm not really too invested in looking into that. And I can put these back. 10 more seconds, I think. I don't actually think I tested the microphone. La 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 la! It works just fine. When I put these consoles together, I make sure that the microphone works, so that I don't go through all the effort of actually assembling the whole thing only to find out that the microphone doesn't work. But never hurts to triple check. Alright, I don't see anything. Both screens look good. There's no checkerboard pattern in the back. When I do quick refreshes, like even these screens are, I guess, in better shape. It's really hard to say what if soft resetting really means anything. Like I don't see any of that. Like I can see a little on the top screen, very barely, very slightly, but I can't really say that's even a... It's nothing worth mentioning because I don't think it means anything. So, this console passed the first round. It'll go through one more round before actually going through a final phase. Other than the kind of weird quirks it has, screens are slightly yellowed and the front-facing, or the rear front-facing camera is a little foggy. I would say this console's pretty good. And I think I'm going to call it there. That was a pretty good roundabout way of getting back into my testing protocol just to kind of get back used to it. So then I can maybe even start getting through some final protocols and getting some consoles up for sale. But that is another day's problem.